Have you ever wondered why some houses have that something special that makes you feel instantly good? For years, I too wondered about it until I discovered that it wasn't about expensive products or endless hours of cleaning. I am Maria Helena, 52 years old, and after raising 3 children and managing my home for 3 decades, I uncovered secrets that completely transformed my relationship with domestic cleaning. I remember the day when my neighbor, Mrs. Cecilia, a Japanese lady of 80 years, entered my home and said something that changed my perspective forever: "Your house has stagnant energy." At the time, I found it strange, but today I fully understand what she meant. It wasn't about visible dust or apparent organization, it was about something much deeper. The first habit that revolutionized my home is what I call the morning windows ritual. Unlike what many people do, it isn't simply about opening the windows. I learned that each room has its ideal time to receive sunlight. My bedroom, for example, receives the first rays of the sun, so I open the curtains as soon as I wake up, but I keep the windows closed for another 30 minutes. This creates a greenhouse effect that naturally eliminates dust mites from the mattress and pillows. On winter mornings, this ritual becomes even more powerful. The second habit is what I call inverted cleaning. Forget everything you learned about cleaning from top to bottom. I discovered that starting with the most hidden corners, those we normally ignore, creates a completely different energy flow. Begin by cleaning behind appliances, under heavy furniture, and those little spaces between the wall and the cabinets. It's amazing how this affects the entire environment. The third transformative habit is the 5 senses technique. Before starting any cleaning, I perform a sensory ritual. I light a rosemary incense, smell, play soft instrumental music, hearing, observe where natural light touches the furniture site, run my hand along surfaces to identify areas that need attention, touch, and keep a cup of mint tea nearby, taste. This helps me create a deeper connection with each space and identify needs that would normally go unnoticed. When I began applying these principles, my eldest daughter, who always complained about my cleaning quirks, noticed the difference. She said that she finally understood why some homes seemed more welcoming than others, regardless of size or decoration. It's all about creating an environment that breathes, flows, and embraces. An interesting detail I discovered is that traditional cleaning products can actually be harming that special energy we want to create. For example, that strong scent of disinfectant we associate with cleanliness might be masking other important odors that alert us to issues like dampness or mold. That's why I developed my own natural mixtures, such as the energetic spray I make with apple cider vinegar, orange peels, and a little coarse salt. The fourth habit that transformed my home is what I call the forgotten zones method. You know those places that everyone cleans automatically? Forget about them for a moment. I'll share something I learned after a curious experience with water infiltration. Baseboards are not just decorative elements, they are thermometers for your home's health. I began to notice that when I cleaned the baseboards with a solution of warm water and tea tree oil, not only did I eliminate invisible dirt, but I also identified moisture problems before they became severe. I even have a funny story about this. My daughter-in-law, who is an architect, was intrigued when she saw me spending hours cleaning the baseboards. She even suggested that I was overdoing it, until we discovered an early leak thanks to a stain that only appeared during my special cleaning. We saved thousands of dollars in renovations because of this seemingly obsessive habit. Another aspect of the forgotten zones method is the door hinges. Have you ever noticed how they accumulate a dark paste that seems to appear out of nowhere? After much research, I discovered that this grime is a combination of metallic dust from the hinge itself with moisture from the air. When not cleaned regularly, this mixture can even compromise the door's functionality. I developed a trick using pure beeswax. After cleaning, I apply a very thin layer on the hinges. This not only prevents dirt buildup but also eliminates that annoying squeak. The fifth habit is what I call the moon cycle. No, it has nothing to do with astrology, but rather with the way natural light interacts with our home. I noticed that dust and dirt accumulate differently depending on the sun's position throughout the day. That's why I created a cleaning system that follows this cycle. For example, the west-facing windows in the living room are cleaned in the late afternoon, when the last rays of the sun reveal all the invisible stains accumulated during the day. An interesting discovery I made was about mirrors. Everyone cleans mirrors, of course, But did you know they can act as amplifiers of moisture in the environment? I developed a technique that I call the breathing mirror. After traditional cleaning, I apply a mixture of alcohol and a few drops of lavender oil to the mirror's edges. This creates a kind of barrier that prevents moisture buildup and also keeps the environment naturally scented. Speaking of moisture, I'll share something I learned from my mistake. For years, I used those wardrobe dehumidifiers we buy in supermarkets. One day, I found all my coats with strange stains. I discovered that the product was saturated and leaking chemicals onto the fabrics. Today, I make my own dehumidifier sachets using activated charcoal, coarse salt, and bay leaves. Besides being more efficient, they are completely natural and I can monitor when they need to be replaced by the color change of the salt. The sixth revolutionary habit is what I call sensory mapping. Every week, I take a tour around the house using only touch and smell. With my eyes closed, I run my hands along surfaces and breathe deeply in each room. It's amazing how our senses become sharper when we eliminate sight. I can detect areas that need special attention even before they become visibly dirty. Would you believe me if I said that the sound of your home can indicate cleaning issues? This reminds me of a curious situation. I noticed that the sound of my footsteps in the kitchen was different. It wasn't something obvious, but that tap-tap of my heel had changed. Investigating, I discovered a thin layer of crystallized grease forming on the floor. Now, I include active listening in my cleaning routine. It's impressive how each surface has its own healthy sound. The seventh habit, which I consider the most important, is what I call circulating energy. It's not just about cleaning, but about creating a positive energy flow in the home. For example, I discovered that objects that remain in the same spot for too long create zones of stagnant energy. So, I developed a subtle rotation system. Every 2 weeks, I slightly move the furniture. A few centimeters are enough. This not only facilitates thorough cleaning, but also renews the energy of the environment. A fascinating discovery I made was about plants. Everyone knows they purify the air, but there's one detail few know. The position of the leaves can indicate areas with stagnant energy. When I notice that the leaves of a plant are constantly facing a specific direction, I know that area needs special cleaning attention. My living room fern was my first teacher in this regard. I also developed what I call power points, strategic areas that, when kept impeccably clean, seem to positively influence the entire surrounding environment. The first point I identified was the geometric center of the house. I placed a small quartz crystal there and maintain a special cleaning ritual at that spot. It's amazing how guests always naturally pause at that point, even without knowing its importance. Another crucial aspect is what I call invisible cleaning. These are areas that no one sees but deeply affect the quality of the environment. For example, the back of picture frames. I discovered that this area accumulates a dense energy that can be dissipated with a simple monthly cleaning using a mixture of water and a few drops of cedar essential oil. Since I started this practice, the rooms seem lighter, and people often comment on the sense of well-being they feel in my home. A practice that revolutionized my relationship with cleaning was the dawn ritual. Before sunrise, when the air is still pure and motionless, I quickly energize the house. I open all the windows for exactly 7 minutes. I discovered that this is the ideal time for a complete air exchange without losing the room's warmth or coolness. During these minutes, I gently tap the walls with my open palm, creating a vibration that seems to awaken the surfaces. Something I learned from my experience is that each home has its own cleaning personality. What works in one may not work in another. That's why I developed a cleaning journal, where I note the environment's reactions to different practices. For example, I discovered that my kitchen responds better to short, frequent cleanings, while the living room needs longer, deeper sessions once a week. A discovery that surprised me was the impact of odors on the perception of cleanliness. I'm not just talking about air fresheners, but something more subtle and profound. I developed what I call the fragrance map of the house. Each room has its own olfactory signature that complements its function. In the kitchen, for example, I use Sicilian lemon essence in the food preparation areas, as I discovered that this not only creates a sense of freshness but also seems to stimulate the appetite in a healthy way. In the bedroom, I experimented with something unusual. Lavender sachets are common, but I discovered that a mixture of chamomile and cedarwood creates an environment more conducive to deep sleep. I make small pouches with this blend and hide them strategically around the room. Under the mattress, behind the headboard, inside the wardrobe. The result is an almost imperceptible aroma that completely transforms the quality of sleep. A practice I adopted recently, which has made a surprising difference, is what I call cleaning meditation. Before starting any cleaning task, I dedicate 5 minutes to mentally connect with the space. I close my eyes, take a deep breath, and visualize the energy flowing freely through every corner of the house. This not only puts me in the right mindset but also seems to make the cleaning process more efficient and enjoyable. I discovered something fascinating about the corners of rooms. They are like energy accumulators. I developed a special technique for these points that I call triangular cleaning. Using a cloth folded into a triangle, I make circular motions from the center outward in each corner, 3 times clockwise and 3 times counterclockwise. I finish with a spray of a mixture of water and a few drops of sage essential oil, known for its purifying properties. A practice that has garnered positive comments from everyone who visits my home is what I call functional aromatherapy. Besides the pleasant aromas, each fragrance has a specific purpose. In the workspace, I use peppermint essence to stimulate concentration. In the living room, a subtle blend of orange and vanilla creates a warm and sociable atmosphere. In the bathroom, a few drops of eucalyptus at the back of the toilet not only keep it fresh but also naturally purify the air. Something I learned over time is the importance of what I call resting the objects. Periodically, I remove some decorative items and store them for a few weeks. This not only facilitates deep cleaning but also renews our appreciation for these objects when we reintroduce them. It's amazing how this can completely change the energy of a space without necessarily buying new things. I also developed a technique that I call sonic cleaning. Once a week, I ring a Tibetan bell in every room, paying special attention to corners and areas behind large pieces of furniture. The sound vibration seems to dissipate stagnant energies in a way that physical cleaning alone cannot achieve. I combine this with the burning of sage or Palo Santo for complete purification. An interesting discovery I made was about the influence of light on the perception of cleanliness. I experimented with replacing common bulbs with LEDs that have adjustable color temperature. During the day, I use a cooler light that accentuates the cleanliness and shine of surfaces. At night, I switch to a warmer tone, which creates a welcoming and relaxing atmosphere. This simple change completely transformed the way we perceive and interact with our space. Finally, I would like to share what I consider the most valuable secret I have learned over all these years: gratitude. I developed the habit of mentally thanking each object as I clean it. It may seem strange at first, but this practice completely transforms the energy of cleaning. It is no longer a tedious chore, but an act of care and appreciation for our home. Implementing these 7 habits transformed not only my home but my entire life. Cleaning ceased to be an obligation and became a form of active meditation, a connection with my space and, by extension, with myself. I realized that a truly clean home is not just one free of visible dirt, but a space where energy flows freely, where each object has its purpose, and where every person who enters feels instantly welcomed and at peace. I invite you to try some of these habits. Start slowly, observe the subtle changes. Remember, every home is unique, just like every person. The important thing is to develop a conscious and loving relationship with your space. When we do that, our home becomes more than just a place to live. It becomes a sanctuary, a reflection of who we are, and a catalyst for the kind of life we want to live. May your home always be a place of peace, harmony, and joy. And remember, true cleanliness begins in the heart and expands to the environment around us. Take care of your space with love, and it will take care of you in return.